in the neighborhood. You guys, it's a great day. You know, I'm going to start doing a lot of outside videos. Mind the wind if you're getting any wind feedback right now, because I am out walking and it is sort of windy. But I did want to ask, you know, what is sacrifice? You know, that's today's topic of discussion. I love, you can see right here these lovely trees behind me. I don't even know what they are, but it's like cherry blossoms. Everything is springing up here in Pennsylvania. Folks, today's live is sponsored by our sponsors, everyhomelife.com. You can go there and buy amazing products for your house, home needs, apartment. If you're getting a new apartment, definitely go there. There is even a link in our descriptions talking about a 15% off. The link will be in the link to the website with the discount, 50% discount will be in the description section of it. So with that said, remember everyhomelife.com. That being said, let's get right to it. So, you know, this thought comes to me. You know, we're adults, going to be adults. What is sacrifice? What does sacrifice mean? A lot of times people, I think, equate sacrifice for simply something that is like you're giving up, you know, abstaining. I think a lot of times people think sacrifice and abstaining are kind of, they're actually two different things. Oh, look at that, what's going on? Two bees fighting or something. Even in females for bees, they don't get along. Any which way, abstaining is, whoa, look at this, it's right here. You guys see this, all these queen bees here? You guys see that? I don't know if you can see that, but any which way, it's right, this is a horse farm where they have a horse fair at, right by where I live. They do the Olympic equestrian trials here at this horse fair. So what is abstaining? Abstaining is simply not taking something, holding yourself back from. You abstain from alcohol, you don't take it, you don't use it. Sacrificing, I'll give it in a sense of something that my dad told me. You guys might have heard this on the podcast I did with Avon Coburn. My father said one time, before I went to college, he says, can you leave the party when it's pumping, jumping? And he would say, does the party control you, or do you control the party? And I, 15, 16, didn't really understand what that meant at the time. But later on, I got to understand, and I'll give it to you in a simple way. Is my father said, you know, when you're out at a club or any place and it's at its height, the party's jumping, you got the girl that you want or guy that you want looking at you, every opportunity's there, you're having the most fun you could ever have. Right in the middle of that moment, leave. And when you start thinking about it, you say, why in the hell would I do that? Why would I leave right in the middle when a party or any kind of event I'm having is pumping, it's jumping, it's going on, I'm having the best time of my life? And he said it's a test of your will. That's what the exercise is for. It's not to shorten down your fun or not make you not have fun, but it's to simply see that, can you leave when everything is right in the middle? It's you're having all the best time of your life. Does the party control you, or do you have control over the fun time? The same thing could go for party. You could change that out with an illegal substance that you may be using. It could be alcohol. It could be anything. It could be anything that you might be addicted to. It could be stuff that is, you know, behavior that's harmful. And it's simply about mental control, was what I learned that he was trying to teach me, mental fortitude. And in college, when I was at college, I remember having a good time, and I remember hearing my dad's words in college. And at that moment, I wanted to see if I could really leave. I wanted to prove if I really had it in me to kind of see if I was being controlled by the party or the party was controlling me. Why would I do that? Why should you do that? And what I've learned as an adult is to prep your mind for times when you have to make sacrifices. One of the more recently ones, as you've seen, I've done my On the Road with Uncle Phil, you know, when I'm traveling out in the world, and my son's birthday was on April 11th, and I actually flew back in, and I got to be home around 9 p.m. at his birthday. You know, he turned 7, and traveling like I do, doing my nursing, there are some times where I have to miss. Sometimes where I can't be around for some moments in my kids' lives. I've sometimes flew home on Christmas Day. In my son's case, I missed his whole birthday. It's not always that happens, but it does happen. But the reason being is I'm on the bigger mission. The mission of working and providing for the family. Is that the same as not being sick and not being able to go to his game? Is that the same sacrifice, or is that me just missing? And a lot of times I think that it's expected for fathers just to kind of do that, you know. We're expected to just work, and there's really not a lot of thought given towards whether or not, you know, we suffer with our sacrifice. I think a lot of times when you're in a relationship, a lot of people equate that a man is just supposed to do things. They're just supposed to take on hard jobs. They're supposed to just take on the labor, the effort. We're supposed to just work hard and literally feel like we're robots. And there really isn't much care in the world of how we feel. You know, what we think about, what we process, what are our priorities, what we care about. I think a lot of times in a relationship with a man, let me make that distinction, not a male, because I have on my journey found that I've learned that some women are going through what men are going through nowadays because they're not with men who are high earners. They're with men who are low earners. So a lot of times what I'm realizing is that women nowadays are starting to experience the same struggles, divorces, and relationships where they're not easily just going to get the house because they're with someone, a man of lesser value. And are those women allowed to sit at the table with men who are going through the same things? You know, are all women just going to be lumped into being with every woman out there that does a man wrong? You know, in this man, the war of the genders, are we going to keep on putting women just in the women category, even though, like I say all the time, not all males are men? There's a difference. So I'm asking, what is sacrifice? What do you teach your kids about sacrifice? I've also heard another father tell me once upon a time that kids do less of what you say and more what they see you do. I don't know if that's true. What do you think that's true? But I think it's true, because a lot of times we find our kids, or even ourselves, to be not listening to our parents, or listening to our kids don't listen to us. But you do see them pick up on a lot of behaviors that parents exhibit. And that's because they watch and follow what you do more often than they will watch and follow what you say. So do you show your kids sacrifice? And what do you show your kids? And when I say showing them sacrifice, I mean, what do you show them in the ways of times you've had to take a loss? Yeah, I've had to talk to my son and tell him, hey, I know how much your birthday means to you and it means the world to you, but I've always made sure my kids understood that this world isn't free. It's far from it. And your birthday comes, but I never need his birthday to make him feel like he's special. You know, that's one of the things my wife and I, we constantly kind of go back and forth on, is that birthdays are a day. You know, if you need a day to celebrate someone, to make them feel special, then you kind of, what do you do the other 364 days out of the year? You know, what do you do if you just give a kid a gift when it's their birthday, but when my kids need something, I give it to them when they need it? Yeah, I don't even get my kids presents because I let them know is that when you have something you need, I get it instantaneously. So why do I need Christmas to celebrate you? To give you more. I usually leave that for their grandparents because they give them so many toys, they actually don't, I don't say they don't appreciate it, but they don't play with every toy. They get bored because it's overloaded toys, you know? And the reason why I asked this about sacrificing is because a lot of times people want to be at every event. You know, people want to be, they want to be at every social gathering. They want to make everything. And what I think is people lose sight of priorities. What are the main priorities? And we tend to switch those priorities based upon what we feel rather than what we understand is truly important in those moments. So again, I ask about what is sacrifice? What are we showing our children? What are we building within ourselves to show sacrifice? You know, sacrificing is, you have two things that could be a priority to you, two things that are of great importance, and usually the thing you sacrifice is something that you really want. It's the number one. It's not the number two, it's the number one. You know, it's funny because I see, how you doing today? All right. UPS guy, he's out there working. You know, sometimes, a lot of times I think you see with this entitlement generation, you don't see sacrifice. You see entitlement. You see people who think they're owed or should just get something because, I don't know, they're black, they're African American, they were descendants of slaves, they're minorities, they're whatever. We try not to get hit because sometimes, even though I'm wearing white, could get hit, you know, walking down the street. At least I'm live streaming so people can see, or get the license plates if they run me over. Nah, it's all right. But there's beautiful homes around here. You see these, where I live at, this neighborhood is very beautiful. Ah, this is a great angle. It's better to talk from. So, again, in the age of entitlement, is it because as parents, we never took the time to show our kids sacrifice? We never took the time to show our kids the work that we put in and how much we sacrifice. One thing I remember about my dad's still alive. I don't want to talk to him in the past tense, but I'm talking about when I was a child, is my dad would always explain things to me. He would explain why he missed Christmas, why he worked overtime. And I talked about that before in videos, but the one thing I can never say that my dad did not do was, I can never say that he never sacrificed. He did sacrifice a lot of things, you know. The problem is when I was young, as a child, children don't appreciate sacrifice because sacrifice is really an adult's game. It's something that you can't put on your children and blame them for being a child. They're children. That's why they're called children. That's why they're called children, kids. And that's because sacrifice is for the world of adults. When they're adults and they don't understand that, it's because you have to educate them on what sacrifice is, what sacrifice means, and how you practice sacrifice. I'll give you an example. There are a lot of times in college, anybody who's a nursing student, you know how hard it is, nursing school is. If you play sports, you know how hard sports are. I gotta switch because my arms are getting tired. Yes, folks, I don't have the wind to have a gimbal, and it is tiring holding this up. Man, look at that house behind me, right? Phew, some big homes out here. I love it. Like I said, being in affluent areas, you get the benefits and the resources of affluent people and neighborhoods. You know, a lot of people, I'm going to go off on a tangent here, but a lot of people do not like or feel uncomfortable being in affluent areas, even if they are not affluent themselves. And a lot of times they misunderstand the resources. If you're there for the resources of affluent areas, you will get those resources. But a lot of times you can't just be in a place where you can be comfortable, where everyone's like you, everyone's at the same level of you, and you feel comfortable. It's one thing to watch the IG videos. It's one thing to watch the YouTube videos. It's another thing to put it in practice. And what you'll see with me a lot of times, I put it in practice, folks. So I was going back to what I was saying about our job as parents is to teach children about what sacrificing means. Explain to them how we sacrifice, what we sacrifice, so they can get a working concept of what sacrificing is. So when they go to nursing school, play sports, they'll understand the work they got to put in, because they've been talked to about the work that's required. They've been raised and they've been explained and seen what mom and dad have done sacrificing, what their relatives have done sacrificing to get here. Those are the kind of examples that parents or adults or mentors, you have to teach people about the sacrifice it takes. Whenever I started the land business, there was a huge amount of sacrifice of time. Man, I remember getting a hernia repair for surgery, and I got out that day, rested a few hours, and right after that I got back up and started doing my trade and selling land. It was a commitment that I had to really be about, because I wasn't going to get anywhere laying down all day. Woohoo! Well, these, I'll tell you, man, they're the things that you got to look out for. So again, I had to put in that work. I had to sacrifice. And my wife's like, why are you're trying to heal? And it's like, but I've got a job to do. I've got to get to where I'm at now, where I can be in front of you all live streaming. So again, when you're in nursing school or football, sports, in order to be better, you're going to have to sacrifice going out with friends, staying up late, going over a girlfriend's house, and you're going to have to train. You're going to have to study. And again, those results, I always say, the results of your success will be direct correlation to the sacrifices you made to get the success. You cannot have one without the other. That's the reason why I'm always leery of funny, quick money. You know, you see all these times people got all these, make $10,000 in less than a month starting something out. But at the same time, you got to do 14 different things and pay $5,000 to learn how to start doing it. And again, you find out a lot of people don't even end up being successful for what they promise. To make $10,000 a month, that took me time to build to get that. Even $10,000 a month in a career, $10,000 a month or 100 grand as an annual salary came after years of being a nurse. I mean, if that was so easy, you wouldn't have to go 4 years of college to get a degree that would pay you 100K. So that still took you 4 years, not counting if you put the first 12 of going to elementary school on top of it. If you add that all up, 16 years to get to a time where you can make 100K, graduating fresh out of college, where you can get 100K or six-figure salary. It still took you accumulation of 16 years. So wealth, like all things, is built over time. And sometimes time is the thing we sacrifice in order to get wealthy. Because as we know, most millionaires, the majority of millionaires, are not in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. It's actually when you get to 50s that you start really seeing more millionaires being a bigger population and even older. And that's obviously why it takes a while to get financially stable. And most people don't understand that. So again, I don't say it as a point of you're not sacrificing enough or you don't know what sacrifice is. But again, I want to challenge people is that sometimes you can't make every party. Sometimes you can't make every event. And when you have children, you have to understand sometimes, teach them the same thing. You got to, explain to them. Explain to them what sacrifice is. You got to show them examples. So the second thing, show them examples of sacrificing. And then you got to also create lessons on what your sacrifices did as far as in the outcomes that came about from the sacrificing. You know, one of the things that my wife did not understand about me traveling back and forth to California, the sacrifice of not going so far for a job as opposed to staying somewhere local, is because of how much I make an hour. Been a nurse for 20 years, and the hospital I work is one of the highest paying hospitals for a regular floor nurse. And the other thing is a pension. The 4 or 5 days I work a month, I'd have to work 4 or 5 days a week here, and I would be gone, the time, everything else like that, as opposed to working 5 days a month and literally probably making the same income. So, but I have to sacrifice my body, my energy, time zone changes, jet lag, traveling, you know, to get to California. And it's not an easy thing to do. It isn't. It takes a lot of mental fortitude. And it's no wonder that I had a father that talked to me about sacrificing and said, Phil, can you leave that party when it's jumping? A lot of times I got to leave my wife and children, and I've got to leave pretty much the best thing that's happening to me, the best moments of my life. I've got to leave at that one point. And it prepared me. So I'm saying the same thing to you all. Sorry, I always get a phone call. Why do I always get a phone call when I'm doing a live? All right, I'm turning back around. I go to the edge of the street and I come back. So again, I'll ask you all this, that same question. What's the meaning of sacrifice? And when you look back, kids barely remember birthdays. They barely remember a lot of things that you've done. Hell, you probably don't remember a lot of things your parents did for you. But one of the things I remember is the sacrifice. I'll give you a quick example of something I remember about my parents. I ran track, football in college. My track events, indoor and outdoor, you know, 100-meter dash, about 10 seconds, 11 seconds, if you're fast enough. My parents would come in indoor, see me run a 60-meter indoor, about 5-6 seconds, right? My parents would drive 8, 9, 10, sometimes 11 hours to see me run for 6 seconds. And that's if I qualified. Sometimes I did to go for another race, but you're talking about my parents drove 8, 10 hours. Let's say I ran 3 races, okay? My parents didn't watch me run for maybe a minute and waited probably 12, 13 hours, 10 hours to travel, and another 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours to wait to see me run for less than 1 minute. And then they had to go back home. I wasn't going back with them. They just came there to see me race. But the one thing I remember is my dad would yell, Philip, you know, football games. Philip, I didn't care about my coaches because my dad he would point out any mistake if I wasn't covering the right man, anything. My coaches just had to look because my dad would let them know what I was doing wrong. Most kids' parents, you know, they had to wait till film session for the coaches to tell them what they did wrong or catch their mistakes. My dad caught every single one of them. And the one thing I learned at college that I didn't appreciate in high school was that my parents, they never missed a game, man. They came to every game. Well, not every game. You know, there was a few they could not get out of. But I want to say 98% of the games they came to, where I had friends whose parents never came or came to one or two. And while I couldn't stand, you know, who wants a kid every kid hates a parent that's always involved or over involved, right? And we don't appreciate it. But when I got to college and I became an adult, I understood sacrificing so much differently, because I said, man, I ran less than a minute, 3 races, total time elapsed was not even a minute, because I'm a sprinter, and my parents drove 10, 12 hours, you know, 8, 10, 12 hours, Jersey to Pittsburgh, Lehigh Valley, and they would come and see me race, and for just a few seconds, and it made me appreciate them so much more internally about what they sacrificed and the things they had to do to be able to get to that position, to be able to watch me run. And that's what I'm talking about. It all comes together later on when you start talking to your kids about it when they're younger, and you show them where you're sacrificing. You show them, hey, I did this and here's the outcome. A lot of times as parents, we don't show them or explain to them. We just come to them with rage and you're an unappreciative mother. You don't see what and again, we don't talk to them about what we're doing, what our sacrifices is. We don't let them in on our plan. And that's what I'm saying. You got to be able to talk to your children, your family members, and explain to them what the plan is, what you're sacrificing, why you're doing it. Sometimes that little bit of communication goes a long way, and your kids will remember what you say when they see what you do. So with that, folks, I'm not going to be any longer. Don't forget, donate to the show. $ Ancestry Lands on Cash App, Ancestry Lands on Venmo. Don't forget about our sponsors, folks. Everyhomelife.com. They got amazing products. I really dig that group. The owners, great people. Really go up there. Don't forget, we'll have a link down in the description below. 15% off. Please go, just go check out the website. Just go check out the website and see what they got. You never know. Save it to your favorites, bookmark it. You might want to buy something there for a gift for a family member. Maybe baby shower or wedding. This way, folks, make sure you get some land. Phil Davis, Ancestry Lands. Go buy some property, right? I hope you've been educated, enlightened, and at the very least entertained. Phil Davis signing out. Take care.
Are you confused with today's real estate market? With high interest rates and overpriced housing, it can be hard to find something to own at the right price. Available on Amazon, Getting Dollars from Dirt by author Philip H. Davis is a game-changing book that invites you to embark on a thrilling exploration of this often overlooked asset class. This book is your roadmap to unlocking the secrets of vacant land investment. Inside these pages, you will uncover the transformative power of vacant land as a wealth-building tool. Discover how to spot promising properties, assess their true value, and capitalize on market trends. From understanding zoning and permits to leveraging financing strategies, you'll gain the knowledge and confidence to make savvy investment decisions. With each page you turn, you'll gain a deeper understanding of the profound impact your investments can have on the world around you. Getting Dollars from Dirt is not just a guidebook, it's a call to action. Whether you're a seasoned investor or a curious novice, this book will empower you to tap into the immense potential of vacant land and embark on a journey toward financial freedom and a brighter future.